Igbo Munuzem ọzọ Askam Konyechili Yazelo Sobocheta Wakwala. Please, I would love you to pay serious attention to this video and watch it to the end. Especially for those that still believe in one Nigeria and those who think that 2027 general election or Tinubu administration coming 2027 is still going to make any difference. And as a matter of fact, Nigeria is united in diversity, meaning that the only remedy that we can only have is by dividing this country. Please, I would love you to pay a serious attention to this video. And of course, if you haven't subscribed to this channel, do us a favor by clicking on your subscribe button. That's the only way to encourage and support us.
Anybody complaining about the atrocities of the Janjaweeds at this point in time must remember to give Nnamdi Kanu his flowers, because he saw this like 10 years ago. So what you are seeing now, you are seeing because it's manifesting. He saw it before it started manifesting. But the funny thing we'll ask ourselves is, what was actually his problem? What did he do? Funny enough, he's in incarceration now, right? And why is he incarcerated? As far as I'm concerned, it's a situation of my plan is good, my method harsh, or everybody they talk say to do. Abi? Because let's look at it. I mean, talking about his method harsh, everybody talks say to do. What were the options on the table? The options on the table was the fact that the government should do the needful. But did the government do the needful? They didn't. Rather, they are playing politics around the whole thing till we now have the full-blown manifestation. So I think it will do you well to equally call for the release of this man, sincerely speaking. Because the fact is, there's this thing about being a realist. When you want to be a realist, things you are going to say, it will look like hate speech, like you hate people. But it's just for the intellectual minds to understand your message that is not born out of hate, but is born out of reality. No, they sweet for ear. Reality, no, they sweet for ear. Now, political talks, grammatical accuracy. Now, in they sweet for ear, they get good intonations and as if nothing is at stake. But the last time I checked, when the life of a man is at stake, there's nothing you can do to preserve that. And that was exactly the situation that happened. And let's now look at it. Sunday Igboho has been released now, and gradually he's activated.
Please, before we continue with the video, do us a favor by clicking on your subscribe button.
Into the community, doing the same thing that Nnamdi Kanu is in detention for. Because anybody that wants to argue with me is not the same thing. I'm telling you, they are virtually the same thing. Not virtually, they are the same thing. Calling for the emancipation of the Odudua, it was there. Having a security outfit, whether local or whatever, is there. Lives lost as a result of the struggle is there. So, what is now the difference? What is now the difference? Well, because possibly speaking in all fairness, because this thing, what would they talk now? If Igbo man talk, no problem for Igbo man. Because Igbo man, most especially when it comes to, at times back in the north, they say, Biafra, Nyamiri, Biafra. It doesn't like us. But let's look at it. This same group of people, you say they don't like us, they hate us or whatever, they want to achieve Biafra. Listen to what this man said and look at it, whether it was all about trying to masculate people to their own part. And let's look at it. In the presence of in the presence of a good governance, you know, the issue of indigenship, non-indigenship will not arise. That's in the spirit of the Constitution, right? And in that vein, Igbo lawmakers proposed a situation where whoever have stayed for so number of years in a particular place becomes an indigent. But what happened? It was rejected. Still an Igbo man, Abi. It was rejected. And now You want people to sit down and fold their hands and say that whoever stays in this particular place for so number of years, look at what we're battling with. They are struggling indigenship in Plateau now.
Please, before we continue with the video, do us a favor by clicking on your subscribe button.
But when you go to Kano, Katsina, Zamfara or whatever, that one is clear. Nobody has taken that one to court. Nobody is arguing that one. Because they know you cannot get it. You dare not even talk about it. So, will it be wrong if somebody said there's a conquest ideology here? And the fact is, well, the Hausas and minority tribes or whatever are beginning to see this as well. But the fact is, the earlier the government do something about this, the better. But at the end of the day, if nothing is done, I see a big problem. Real issue. I am telling you, real issue. And the fact is, when the government fails in their responsibility, people must definitely take the law into... They will become government of their own. Just like what is happening. Say their government apparatus in Igbowu town or whatever. But you saw the recent utterance of Igbowu in regards people that were napped in his own part. Were there no government there? But I bet you if that was coming from an Igbo man, I'm telling you possibly he will be picked. So, I don't actually understand what is going on in Nigeria. Allah, I don't know what is happening. The fact is, there is actually a problem. When you see it, you talk about it. But you see in the midst of all these things now, Tinubu is failing to do anything in this regards, believing in this political adventure as a solution. But
please, before we continue with the video, do us a favor by clicking on your subscribe button.
I want to ask you, have you ever thought of Nigeria after your presidency, even if you are to give him 15 years? Have you ever thought of what becomes of that if these fundamental issues are not solved? And a lot of people have proposed a lot of proposals. Even in my previous videos, I've made a lot of proposals. I say, okay, let's not say you are going to pursue all the Fulanis or whatever, concluding that they are all Janjaweeds. But the fact is, the ones you have at the moment, I think at this point in time, there is need for you to call community leaders. And what are even the traditional rulers doing? At this point in time, there's supposed to be a town hall meeting, a general dialogue, where these people will be called. And I'm telling you, the Fulanis have a structure that everybody is known. So if they want to account for everybody through the Arlos, I'm telling you they will be known. So in places where they are resident, call a meeting and let them identify these people and possibly say, these are the people we know, these are the ones we can account for. Any other person you see, any other place is actually not part of us.
All for me to act in Nigeria. And that's exactly what I've been doing. But we have evil forces that are lying and trying to cover up the truth. The government has made this clear. DCI group has made this clear. And even myself, when I was in Nigeria a few months ago, I went to see a mass burial at the mortuary where the bodies are being held in Kuru of Jos South in Plateau State. I was refused entry by the Nigerian police, the DPO of that area. He said there was no attack, there's no reason for this burial to be covered. You should just leave. The Nigerian police did this. Yet the truth was that Christians were murdered in a mining site, having done no wrong. The bodies were still being cleaned and dragged through the mortuary with blood stains everywhere. You could hear the echoes of the people crying. And the police are saying, nothing happened. There was no attack. There was no murder. You don't need to be here. You don't need to show anybody. Just leave. I refused. Ezekiel Dachomo came. The youth leaders came. They said, ignore this person. You're going in, period. I went in. And what was I met with? I was met with boys, young men, who had bullet holes across their bodies. Blood was literally pouring out of those bullet holes as I was there. I have videos and I have pictures of this moment. You had blood stains of bodies that were dragged through the mortuary. People that were killed in innocence. And a father who was just looking at his son's body as blood is pouring out. People that are crying and wailing. They're saying, when will people stand for us? When will there be justice for people who are being killed innocently? And those moments only motivated me more. You have to speak. You have to act. This has to be told. Because this isn't just a terrorist group that is operating in one area doing some things. You have terrorist groups around Nigeria. You have the Fulani militia terrorists that are operating pretty much in every single state in Nigeria. And you have a government who is watching it and directly allowing it. And you cannot argue the facts. Why is it that the police will directly lie to me when I already knew the truth before I arrived? Tell me, why is it that leaders in the DSS, the Federal Security Agency of Nigeria, will tell me that only a few dozen were murdered in Yelwada? That they doubt even 30 people were killed in Yelwada and Benue. When 1 year ago, almost 300 Christians were killed. At least 100 buildings were burned to the ground, homes and shops. And yet it's a federal person high in power who says it was only 30 people. Yet I already knew the truth. A group of the persecuted just built a monument in Yelwada with every name of the person who was killed. And guess how many there were? Almost 300. So, if federal people, if security forces are directly lying and misleading about the truth, what does that say? It paints an extremely dark picture. Even the reverend, the now governor of that state, says there's no genocide. It's just ethnic. It's just farming disputes. This is what you're going to hear from the lobbying group. This is what you're going to hear from governors and paid actors of the government in Nigeria. It's just farmer-herder conflict. It's just ethnic. There's no religious aroma about this. There's no persecution. There's no intentional killing and targeted killing. It's just this conflict. It is being mischaracterized to be something it's not. This is what they tell you. But we have some very important questions we have to ask. Let's say that it is because of global warming. They're migrating from the country, the Republic of Niger. They're coming further south because they need more grass for their cattle. Let's go with this. I'll ask you this question. If the Fulani terrorists have taken over all of the interior rural lands, why are they going to the main roads that lead to the capital? Why are they killing people and burning villages along main roads? If they already have taken over all the interior land that is vast, is the grass any different? If you go 10 kilometers interior, is that grass better than the grass along the road? The answer is no. And if it's about competition, if the Fulani are competing for that grass, this means that other Fulani herders are eating the same grass. This means that anybody who is using that grass is a competitor. Why are they not killing other Fulani? Why are they not killing other Muslims? Why is it that across Plateau, in Benue, in Taraba, in Kaduna, these places, they are directly and only killing Christians? I'm not speaking to Borno, I'm not speaking to Zamfara and Sokoto. I'm talking about the Middle Belt. Areas that they are directly targeting and killing Christians. Why are they not killing other Fulani people? They're eating the same grass. They are just as much of a competitor as the Christians are. Yet they're not attacking Fulani settlements. They're not killing Fulani people. They're not beheading them. They're not going into their villages chanting Allahu Akbar and slaughtering people. They are only going to the Christians. Even as I'm rebuilding a village in Barkin Ladi, my own worker took a machete to his head. The very village we're rebuilding, 7 people were just killed last month. They were Christians. Did they do anything wrong? Did they commit a crime? They didn't. They were targeted. They were killed because of who they are. And this shows that there is an effort to displace people, to take over. There's a greater agenda at hand. Just 2 days ago in Mushere, Bokos, they killed over 20 Christians. A few days before that in Kaduna, they murdered more Christians. They essentially cut a boy's head in half. A 5-year-old boy. A 6-year-old boy. I want you to imagine that. Your own son or your own daughter having their head cut in half in the name of so-called global warming and grass conservation. I'm sick of these lies. I'm sick of people distorting the reality. I'm sick of people that are hiding the truth of what is happening. It's been too long. It's been 2 decades. It is time that people tell the truth, that people actually act, that people call it for what it is. They're not bandits. They're not herders. They are terrorists.
Yes.
And if the foreign community and the Nigerian government refuse to call it for what it is, it's no surprise that this goes on for 2 decades. They can't even admit who the actual perpetrators are. What else do you call when someone enters the village yelling Allahu Akbar, beheading people, burning villages? What do you call that? Is that just normal criminality? Is that someone who just goes and steals a phone and runs off? Is that gang violence? It is all-out terrorism.
Yes.
And it's part of a greater Islamic agenda.
Yes.
Because we see people that are being targeted, people that are being killed because of their faith. If you blaspheme Muhammad, if you blaspheme the Quran, if you say something that Muslims disagree with, they have the right to kill you. This is